This video was supposed to be out over 2 weeks ago, but there are three reasons why it took so much time. One, I needed more time. Two, I got burnout. And three, I don't have a third reason. It just be like that. But anyway, I've been told y'all that I would get these parts out quicker, and here we are. In the last part, I stated that my view on this season so far has rarely changed as I continue rewatching this season, though there are some things that I have to address before we continue. Remember when I said that episode 20 doesn't look all that good? Well, it's because that episode has the same animation director, Mamoru Hoshino, and just saying right now, his later episodes don't get any better. The animation in those episodes are so atrocious to look at. So we left off with Hime believing that Megami's been replacing her with Iona, and now we're going to continue on with her and Iona's arc. We got a lot to unpack in this part. From this arc to the training arc, as well as addressing the international cures controversy at the end of this video, and responding to a certain someone's comments on Blue. Oh yeah, this video is going to get very controversial. Good lord. Gokigen yo everyone, the Starlight Let's Player is here, and this is part 3 of the Happiness Charge Pedicure review. Hime locked herself in her room after what happened yesterday. Ribbon and Yuko try to convince her to come out, and Yuko tells Hime that Megami's at Iona's house, trying to talk it out. But Hime believes that Megami prefers Iona over her, and Megami and Seiji tries to convince Iona to join the team, telling her that Hime's been doing her best against the Psyarchs. But alas, hell hath no fury, like a girl scorned. Basan also tries to convince Iona, but once again she refuses to work with Hime. Ribbon tries to ask Blue for help, but he believes that things will work out soon. And damn, was he right on that. Megami and Seiji return back to the embassy and sees Yuko coming up with a way to get Hime out of her room. They manage to lure Hime out with the smell of cream stew, but it eventually ends up with them chasing after Hime. She noticed how upset Megami was at her for running away from her, but the two start to cry and hug it out, with Yuko catching up to them. They sat down to talk, and Megami apologized for talking so much about fortune, not realizing that it was upsetting Hime. But Hime thinks she should have told them the truth to begin with, and complains over opening Axia to begin with. I mean, technically it's her fault, but I can't really blame her that much. And I understand her reason as to why once we get to that. Megami and Yuko convince Hime to tell Iona the truth, as well as offering to help her tell Iona. Meanwhile, Phantom begins to make his move, creating a whole pack of Psyarchs, filling the whole city with crystals. This alerts the girls along with everyone else. Hime mentions how the same thing happened back at the Blue Sky Kingdom, so with that they transform into Pedicure. Everyone tries their best against the army of Psyarchs, but one of them catches Lovely by surprise. Princess was able to save her in time, and the two claim that they are at their best because of their friendship, and begins to resume fighting. Fortune finishes up her fight with the Psyarchs, with Phantom appearing in front of her. The trio finishes up their fights with the Psyarchs as well. Princess tells Lovely and Honey how grateful she is to have them as best friends, and because of all the Psyarchs they defeated, they gained a large amount of pre-cards. Princess also thanks Ribbon for worrying about her. Afterwards, they begin to fight more Psyarchs. While that's going on, Fortune continues her fight with Phantom, and then Phantom surprises Fortune with a portal to the graveyard filled with a bunch of Pedicure trapped in mirrors. And so the two continued their heated battle.
Pure Beauty です。プリキュア10周年ありがとうございます。これからもよろしくお願いいたします。キュアブルームだよ。プリキュア10周年ありがとう。これからも頑張るなり。イエイ。
So here we are at Aoyama's second episode, because I forgot to point out that he's done episode 16 with the animation, which doesn't look that good, but it's better than Hoshino's animation skills. Queen Mirage embraces the graveyard filled with trapped Pedicure, with Fortune and Phantom continuing their battle. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the trio was wrapped in their second battle with the Psyarchs, and with the pre-cards album almost filled, Lovely and Honey decided that they should use the cards to wish for Princess's home to be restored. Glissan rushed to their aid, telling them that Fortune disappeared with Phantom, and so the three decided to search for them. The fight between Fortune and Phantom continues. Blue alert the trio that Fortune isn't in the city.
あの空間へ。
あの空間。
ファントムに倒されたプリキュアは皆どこか別の空間へ連れて行かれて、それきり消息を絶っているんだ。
So she asks Blue to find the place, but Blue tells them to head to the cross mirror room as he has a plan for them to get to their destination. But unfortunately, Fortune was defeated and was reverted back to a civilian form. And when Phantom picks up Cure Tender's pretty change mirror, he finds out that Iona's the younger sister of Tender, so he immediately burns Iona's pre-cards in front of her, making her unable to transform into Fortune anymore. Everyone uses their prayers to try and open a path to where Iona is, and luckily, Princess was able to save her in time. As Lovely and Honey prepare to fight against Phantom, Princess offers up all her pre-cards to Iona as a way of apologizing, even if she's not forgiven. Iona asks Princess about her wish, but Princess says that she can collect more pre-cards and wants for her to make her wish first. Realizing that Princess isn't at fault for everything, Iona wants to help her and the others out. Glissan asks her what's your wish for. Iona wants to wish for her sister back, but she realized that by saving her sister, or wishing Phantom or the Phantom Empire gone, it would only bring misfortune. So instead, she wishes to become a pretty cure again and was given a Fortune piano, along with the Fortune pre-cards, giving Iona the chance to transform into Cure Fortune once again. And now Cure Fortune is back in action, rushing to the trio's aid. She realizes that she wanted revenge for her sister, but now she wants to fight alongside her friends and to protect the world. She also apologizes to Hime for her troublemaking mistakes. Fortune proved to be a match against Phantom and was soon used her new finisher, Starlight Ascension, to damage Phantom. He was able to survive, however the fight was interrupted by Queen Mirage. She scolds Phantom for running off on his own. Hime starts to have PTSD after seeing Queen Mirage and says that if they defeat her, then her kingdom will be restored. And as the Queen herself was getting ready to annihilate them, Blue shows up in time and pleads to Mirage to restore everything back to normal. Queen Mirage claims that love, courage, kindness, and happiness are illusions, but Megami disagrees with her. This agitates Mirage and she attacks them again. Blue teleports everybody back to the cross mirror room before the attack can connect, and he tells them to continue protecting the world. Back at the Phantom Empire, Mirage slaps Phantom for going off on his own and tells him to follow her orders. Iona gives Tender's pretty change mirror to Blue, explaining what happened to her. Megami once again asks Iona to join the Happiness Charge team, and once again she refused, but only because she fears that she might ruin their teamwork. Ribbon suggests that they should hold a small house party, and they all agree to it. However, they don't have everything they need to make Megami's special fruitcake, so Glissan insists for her and Iona to help Ribbon get the ingredients, with Iona asking Hime to come with them to help carry the groceries. While they were on their way to the market, Ribbon asked Glissan what Cure Tender was like, and Glissan answers that she was the greatest cure with a strong heart, a will to help out others, and was a wonderful woman outside of being a cure. Soon they were able to get what they needed, but Hime wanted to buy some pretty cure snacks. This causes her and Iona to get into a funny argument. And I love how Glissan is just snoozing throughout the whole thing. Eventually, Iona gives in and decides to let Hime buy one pack as long as they keep it a secret from the others. Hoshua begins to make her move. My god, seeing Hime like this is how others probably reacted when they obtained a super rare Pokemon card or a super rare Yu-Gi-Oh card. Iona asks Hime what made her open Axia. Hime explains that they pray to Axia as a family tradition. However, she heard a sad voice luring her to open the box, and because of that, calamity and despair spread around the world, as well as her kingdom. Hearing this causing Iona to run off, feeling extremely shocked and horrible for putting all the blame on Hime. Lasan suggests that she should let bygones be bygones and to become friends with Hime now that both parties have apologized. They noticed Hoshiwa along with a Psyarch, so Iona transforms into Cure Fortune to face off against the Psyarch. But just when she had the upper hand, she was ambushed by a smaller yet speedy Psyarch, making it uneasy for Fortune to fight. And fortunately, Cure Princess arrives in time to help Fortune. Beautiful. Just beautiful. 10 out of 10. Very, very flawed. So after that spectacular entrance from Princess, the two make amends with each other and will fight alongside each other. Princess uses her Macadamia Hula form, and Fortune would uses her Pine-Arabian form for the first time. I'll get to that at the end of this video. Afterwards, Fortune uses her Starlight Ascension to defeat the two Psyarchs. Fortune then thanks Princess for saving her. On her way home, Hime insists for Iona to call her by an alias name. Then Megami gives Iona a cure line, once again wanting her to join the team, with Hime forcing her to accept it, knowing that she wants to. Iona finally accepts the offer and is now officially a member of the Happiness Charge team. Now I would review the next 4 episodes individually, but to make things a little easier, I'll combine all of them together and explain the main points for each of these 4 episodes, because we got a whole lot of love going on in these episodes. So Iona insists on training her teammates in order for them to get stronger. They arrive at her training spot, and this is where the love train sets its course. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the love chart, a chart filled with a bunch of crushes on each other. We have our 6 contenders, with 2 of them being sub-contenders. Let's start with the most obvious one. Megami is in love with Blue. How did this happen? Well, let's go back to episode 13. Blue did embrace Lovely at the end of that episode, and Blue carried Megami to the bed at the end of episode 24, since Megami did catch a cold during her training. Which leads us to the next one. Seiji has a crush on Megami. Now, it wasn't implied during the early episodes, but when we got to episode 17, it was starting to get obvious, since Seiji did say that Megami is the main reason why he works hard at karate, and when he saw Blue carrying Megami to her room, it was obvious that he was starting to develop some type of jealousy, which is why he wants to make sure Megami gets better soon, and is being even more nicer to her than he was before. And that leads us to our third crush. Wren has a crush on Seiji, because she sees a lot of good qualities in him. She asks Hime if she knows who Seiji likes, but Hime didn't have the answer to that yet. When the sun was setting, Wren finally confessed her love to Seiji. However, she noticed that he likes someone else, but doesn't know who. Now, the fact that she doesn't know who, to me, is actually a good thing, because if she did, things might have gotten a little awkward. Just like how it is with Hime, because she also has developed a crush on Seiji. Or so she thought. She tried to pull a prank on Seiji by turning into a mermaid to scare him, but that unfortunately backfired as she unintentionally attracts a bunch of fish, causing her to hit her elbow on a rock. Ironically, Seiji ends up saving Hime, and that was just the tip of the iceberg. Hime and Seiji ended up winning a bunch of drinks, which led to them missing the train home, with their cure devices left on the train. Because of this, they had to find the nearest phone to call Megami and company. Later on, they were surrounded by Hoshiwa with a Psyarch and her army of Choarchs. And because Hime doesn't have a pretty change mirror on her, along with her ankle being sprung, Seiji had no choice but to defend Hime against the MOTW until Lovely and Honey would show up. And after that fight, Hime starts to realize that she herself has a crush on Hime. This pretty much worries her because she doesn't want her friendship with Megami to end, since she knows Seiji has a crush on Megami, and she is also worried that Seiji and Blue might fight each other over Megami. But soon she would realize that she's not really in love with Seiji, making her happy that her friendship with Megami is still secure. Now, as for Blue's love for Mirage, that's where things start to get rocky. Blue finally explains his relationship with Mirage and that he was the one who caused the Shrine Lady to become a goth dictator.
The dick!
That is an automatic red flag there, but I'll save my criticism on that later. So I think this was an ambitious yet satisfying trip to explore some of these crushes. This was literally 2 arcs in one, the training arc and the love arc. And I know some may find the love arc to be messy, but to me, I think it helps give some of these characters not only some development, but also some room to develop and also time in the spotlight. Now as for Blue, I do find it a bit sus seeing him getting this close to Megami, but it's natural for someone to care a lot about an individual as long as it's not considered romantic. Even if the love god's presence is causing Megami to experience hormones, still, I don't find the dynamic between these two to be romantic. Blue is not fooling anyone. He knows he still loves Mirage, despite him pussy blocking her in the end. And again, it's not like Blue's trying to make Megami fall in love with him. Again, a bit sussy seeing that these two getting close, but I've seen far worse than this. It's not something that should be taken seriously. I mean, it's not like someone who would make him seem like a creep, right?
Blue is basically the pre-boy version of Rick Sanchez.
Oh, why am I not surprised? Yeah, I think it's about time I address the elephant in the room. So, apparently, Asian Zone made a 4-part review of Happiness Charge Pretty Cure. And to the few people who don't know who Asian Zone is, surprisingly, he is a YouTuber that does reviews and discussions on Tokusatsu, Super Sentai, Pretty Cure, and many more. He does weekly episode reviews on the current running Pretty Cure seasons, while doing longer reviews on the older and completed seasons. Honestly, I don't find his reviews to be all that, and I'm sorry to say this, but despite me disagreeing respectfully with his opinions on Star Twinkle, thanks to his overview on the season, it pretty much ruined a bit of the reception Star Twinkle could have had. So, when going into this review on Happiness Charge, I pretty much disagreed with some of the points he brings up, but while we're watching this review, I did notice that he sort of went easy on the season like Taiwano did. Look, I'm not saying you have to like this season, but at least bring up legitimate reasons why you don't like this season, or consider it mediocre and decent. And I think Taiwano and Asian Zone explained their views on the seasons pretty well, even if I disagree with some of the points they made. So if you say Happiness Charge is the absolute worst season, that's why I lose my shit. I mean, you can dislike the season all you want, I won't harp on that, but Hakuto is 100 times worse! I'm telling you, we'll get to that dumpster fire once we in the future. Though, I will say that I do agree with his points on the animation, the 3 generals, and how Blue handled the situation with Mirage. However, I knew doing this whole review, I had to address the main issue I had with how he talked about Blue. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do. This is a full rebuttal of some of Asian Zone's points on Blue. If I miss any points that he made, it's because either I find them irrelevant or that I fully agree with them. So without further ado, let's jump into my response.
Hypocrisy, thy name is the color of the sky.
I don't understand how this is considered hypocritical. The only way it would be hypocritical is if Blue is actually in love with Megami, which he isn't. Blue did say not to fall in love, and if you were to call him a hypocrite due to him being in love with Mirage, then that's a completely fair point.
Just don't even know what they were trying to do with this character, other than set up a certain plot point for later. We're certainly not being endeared to this creepy guy putting the moves on the 14-year-old.
I don't know why he would make the assumption that Blue's trying to hit on Megami. There's no indication on him actually falling in love with Megami. And spoilers, one of his complaints is Blue having a bit of his chest showing, which is pretty hilarious if you ask me.
So, you realize that Mirage basically pulled an Anakin Skywalker because she fell in love with you, and thus you decided to take a page out of the Jedi playbook and set up an arbitrary rule where the Pretty Cure couldn't fall in love. And yet here you are with your unbuttoned shirt getting way too close to the teenage girls whose hormones are starting to kick in.
Again, how is this even hypocrisy on Blue's end if Megami's the one that's falling in love with him? If you were to point out the irony that Megami is falling for the one who made the rule not to fall in love, then fair enough. Yet you've never brought that up because you're too focused on the love god.
Look, I don't think Blue is actually in love with any of the Precure or anything.
You just assume, no, you literally just assume that Blue has an attraction towards Megami. So if you think he's not falling in love with her, why would you make the whole assumption that Blue has a thing for Megami? I'm sorry, but this just comes off as inconsistent.
You knew you and Mirage had mutual feelings for one another, and yet because of your own preconceived notions of what a god is, you not only ignored her feelings, but you didn't even bother to consult her through a proper breakup. Yeah, dude, you are officially worse than Zeus. At least he was honest about who he wanted to bang.
He didn't ignore Mirage's feelings, he was aware of them, but didn't want to create a romantic relationship. Again, I do think he could have just confessed, but he wasn't trying to ignore Mirage or her feelings.
Just as they were about to depart, Blue left his crystals of love with them.
Of course you had to make a joke like that. Then again, regular show had the balls to make lots of ball jokes, so I'ma let this slide this time.
So I want everyone to line up, and when the balls drop...
This guy clearly still has a lot of powers available to him that even if they're not suited for battle, he has the ability to choose people other than teenage girls. Girls who he tells not to fall in love while also getting really close to them and their friends himself.
So again, you don't think Blue's in love with Megami, and yet once again, you're making the assumption that he is. Pick a goddamn side, it can't be both.
And he claims the only reason he made up such a stupid rule in the first place was because he didn't commit to a relationship and that drove one of his former disciples crazy, and rather than dealing with it properly along with his brother who was clearly going through some issues, he just locked both of them in a box for millennia.
Again, the whole purpose of that rule was for them not to fall into something sort of despair or calamity. He didn't want them to fall down the same path as Mirage, despite the dick move he pulled, and he knows it could lead to other incidents, something that was present throughout episodes 24 to 27. A lot of these unrequited loves were prime examples of how not to fall in love.
And of course, that's not even addressing the elephant in the room that he's physically a man in his late 20s hitting on 14-year-old girls.
Oh, Jesus Christ. The more I go on about this, the more I just keep repeating the same things I said. Like, am I missing something here? Like, needless to say, the way he reviewed Blue as a creep was so wrong. This came off as inconsistent and also ridiculous. I have my thoughts on Blue once we get to the end of this review, but god damn, people really think this dude is some kind of a creep trying to hit on teenage girls. Look, let's just get this out of the way. I 100% do not hate Adam, and nor do I have any ill will towards the guy. I may disagree on a lot of stuff he says, but at the end of the day, those are all his thoughts and opinions, and who am I to change that? I really have no issues with the guy. He seems pretty nice and knows how to do well-constructed reviews. I'm not kidding, his editing is far better than mine. I still have a bad case of PTSD when it comes to his fanbase though. They're not all that bad, but one, I still can't get over how they got on my ass for saying Hugger's was the worst season, and two, even on Twitter, they make it seem like he's immune to criticism, to which he's not. I'm sure there's going to be people who hate him, but at the same time, there are people who give legitimate reasons as to why they don't like him or his content. I'm sure there are other pretty chill reviewers out there. Might have recommended Tyranno or myself. Point is, I agree with some of the points he said about Blue. Everything else is just ridiculous. If I have to say one more positive thing about Adam's review on Happiness Charge, is how he fairly criticized the international cures. Unlike some people, and well, we'll get there, but I think it's finally time we get into the last 3 episodes of this video. Well, this is it. Aoyama's last episode as the animation director for this season. And damn, did this episode went out with a bang. Kinda.
キュアマイン登場。プリキュア10周年だって。みんなのおかげだよ。これからもよろしくっす。
Kurt Otto, the Pretty Cure of France, was struggling against a Psyarch, but was aided by Kirihani's song, giving her the strength to finish off the MOTW. Yeah, apparently Blue requested Yuko to travel the world in order to support the other remaining cures around the world. So, not only do the international cures have similar outfits, but all of the mascots consist of panda-like fairies. I shouldn't be surprised at this point. Alo Alo begs Blue to help her team, the Aloha Pretty as they are in a bind. Yuko volunteers to help, but the others insist on going with her to help the Hawaiian cures out. You know, given that they've set this episode up, I kind of wish the Happiness Charge team would travel around the world, giving some of the international cures their own episodes. Anyway, they arrive in Hawaii only for half of it to be frozen wasteland, and we're introduced to the Aloha Pretty Cure. Why am I not surprised? Cure Sunset voiced by Hisomi Yoshida, and Cure Wave voiced by Sayaka Nakaya. Taking some notes for Doki Doki, I see. This was quite the nice move for them to make. Not on the same level as Cure Sword being voiced by Kanako Miyamoto, but it definitely comes close. The two girls aren't cooperating with each other, and as a result, they stood no chance against... Is it appropriate to consider him as the first queer person in this franchise? Well, thankfully he doesn't compare to the best queers in One Piece.
Oh boy, I've come here to rescue you! In the name of our everlasting friendship!
You will always be a real one, Bon Clay! Momir wastes no time in telling Sunset to ditch Wave as she's better off fighting solo. Afterwards, Alo Alo and the Happiness Charge team rushed over to their aid. And to Megami's surprise, Ohana and Alina are twin sisters. However, they don't seem to get along ever since Momir invaded half of Hawaii. Okay, so they let half of the country get turned into the North Pole, lost all of their teamwork, and now they're coming at Aina's neck with racist jabs. Nice. So, jokes aside, they were able to defuse the conflict, and Yuko suggests that they should have lunch and talk about the situation. With the two sharing the same goal, Yuko insists that they should work together again and combine their powers, and now the twins are back as one again. Momir shows up once again to fight the Aloha twins, and this is the first time we've seen them transform. The Happiness Charge team also joins in to help them out. This was quite an enjoyable fight to see, and of course being in Hawaii, they had to bring in the macadamia hula form. Not really surprised. In fact, I expected Hime to use it during the episode, and this gives Ionis the chance to finish off the Psy arc. You forgot to say no pun intended, honey. So she uses her healing rhythm to restore the twins' strength, and they finally use their finisher to defeat the second Psy arc. And hold up, did they really have to give Momir that much cake? Good lord. A teaser for the next toy to sell. Hooray! God fucking damn it! Another episode with Hoshino as the animation director. Oh my god. Okay. I'm putting my insanity aside. Blue tells the girls that the box Oxia has the power to give them a new power-up called the Shining Make Dresser, which is totally not similar to the Heartcatch Mirage. Iona insists on releasing its powers right away to defeat Queen Mirage. However, Megami refused to because she knows that Blue still has feelings for Mirage. This caused a bit of conflict between the two, and I find it to be worth it. Neither of them are in the wrong and have the right to feel the way they do. And thankfully they got on the right page. So Blue finally tells everyone the full truth about his and Mirage's relationship. They met 300 years ago at the Picari Shrine. Blue loved Mirage a lot, but had to keep his feelings to himself because he was Earth's god. So he rejected her, and because of that, she fell into despair and became Queen Mirage.
What an asshole!
So technically, it's his fault that she became the evil Empress. Good going there, Blue. Yeah, and whose fault is that again? Also, why the hell are they treating him as the victim in this situation? He's the one who caused Mirage to fall in despair. Am I missing something here?
Who the fuck are you?
And of course, this mysterious figure is corrupting Mirage into believing that Blue betrayed her and wants to seal it away. So she sends out the generals to stop them from releasing Akia's power. And during the ceremony, the trio arrives to put a stop to their plans. So in order to release Akia's true power, Megami, Yuko, and Iona transform to hold off against the Orsky trio. This results in one of the most lamest fights I have ever seen in this franchise. Either way, it doesn't matter since they were able to succeed in the end. Akia finally transformed into the Shining Make Dresser, and they were close to purifying the three, but not close enough. So Mirage orders Phantom to give it a Blue once and for all. She's really not playing around. So, in order for them to release the Shining Make Dresser's powers, they have to have innocent feelings. And I'm sure we all know where this is going later on. Blue then explains more of his past with Mirage. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant Cure Mirage. So, she's not only a Shrine Maiden, but she was also a Pretty-Cure. And they used the Shining Make Dresser to defeat the evil monster. Blue decides to go out for some fresh air. Unsurprisingly, Megami ends up following the Love God and encourages him that he can get through Mirage. But Phantom thinks otherwise. He attacks Megami and Blue and being ordered to eliminate Blue. But Megami ain't having that, so she transforms into Kill Lovely and fights Phantom one-on-one. And this is where Phantom begins to show his true power. Yep, that's his true power, to become a Futanari.
Say hit him really hard. I swear to God, I will kick you in the dick!
Okay, in all seriousness, Phantom uses Lovely's shadow to turn himself into Kill Lovely. I've been following this franchise for almost 7 years, and I've seen so many weird things here. Boob jokes, model-like villainesses, aliens and androids becoming Pretty-Cure. This right here is definitely one of them. Okay, putting that aside, Unlovely proceeds to beat the ever-living shit out of Lovely and then points out her insecurity. She was inspired to help others out by her mother Carly. However, the one thing that Megami fears is her tendency into helping others may come off as being selfish, and that she only helps people out just to get complimented on the good things she does. All of this starts to make Lovely feel uneasy, so the rest of the team managed to make it in time, and oh my god, the disrespect towards Princess. I swear this is not editing or anything. They literally pause for 3 seconds before Fortune decides to make a move. Also, having 3 animation directors for this one episode is a bit too much. That's too many chefs in the kitchen. Honey and Fortune gets clapped and Lovely starts to believe she's useless. But Princess proceeds to tell her to grow a pair. With the encouragement from everyone, Lovely was able to knock the Fuda out of Phantom, and with their innocent feelings, they were able to unlock the hit power hidden in the Shining Make Dresser, giving them the first group attack that happened in Big Bang, which they used to defeat Phantom.
Mirage-sama.
What a ride of an episode. And I did not hold back on those jokes. I'm sorry, I just had to let those out. So, I guess before I end off this part, I might as well address the controversy surrounding the international cures. Happiness Charge Pretty Cure has been out for around over 8 years, and throughout my years of interacting with those who've watched this season, I've never encountered any comments about the international cures being a big issue until now. And it doesn't have to do with them being fodder or not having their own episodes, let alone enough screen time, no. It's something that is completely ridiculous, and that's whitewashing, representation, and cultural appropriation. People are complaining about how Toei handled the international cures with all 3 of those things that I've mentioned, which I 80% disagree. There is nothing racist or disrespectful going on with the international cures. And racist is the last thing Toei is. I don't like a lot of the things they do, but I don't see anything wrong with them. Again, I think Asian Zone had a better view on the international cures. I'll explain the true issues with the international cures once we get to the end of this review, but it's so laughable that people are making this into a whole big deal. But what really made me want to talk about this is about a Tumblr post made by Maho Shoujo Files. I'm gonna debunk some of the points that are reaching a lot. Firstly, the Bomber Girls Pretty-Cures, the American team. How is Bomber Girl considered controversial? There's nothing negative about it. There's literally a video game franchise called Bomberman. So what, you're gonna say that is also offensive? Also, you're complaining about the team being completely white and not being diverse. Now, I see where they're coming from when saying one of them should be Native American due to the feather headdress, but it's hard to take them seriously if they consider this concept racist. And why even tie the concept to slavery, racism, and colorism? That's just reaching at this point. Secondly, they complain about some of the secondary forms of Happiness Charge Team, mainly the Pan Arabian form, and it has something to do with cultural appropriation. Listen, it's not that deep, okay? It's a fictional anime. It's not like they're wearing them for an attack is considered harmful. Like, if this was in real life, that's a whole different story. And lastly, I can see what they're saying by adding more variety to the mix when it comes to having international cures. And yeah, maybe if they want to, they could have expanded throughout the entire world, but that would take up too much time and it would be overkill. This isn't a bad point though, but I understand why it's a bit limited. They then made a list of solutions if Toei ever do this again, but nobody at Toei is going to listen to those solutions. Maybe people who might have read this, but that's about it. The majority of Pretty Cure's fan base is Japanese, so why should they listen to us if we're the minority? And that's exactly what it stems down to. Most of the people making these complaints are American. The backlash is mostly coming from the American side. Why is it that when something interesting happens in the anime community, most of the criticism / toxicity comes from the American side? I don't see people from the Japanese side complaining, but only us Americans. From Yamato in One Piece to the Six Ranger leaks in the Pretty Cure fandom. Like, listen, just because you have a problem with something doesn't mean everyone else will. Remember that, okay? And at the end of the day, our words don't hold any weight. It's fine to criticize, freedom of speech and all that, but at least have some good actual reasons as to why you dislike the international cures without having to do with racism or appropriation. As I continue rewatching this season, my view on it still hasn't changed much, but I can still acknowledge some of the flaws in this season. Still, the positives greatly outweighs the negatives. The story is starting to get even more interesting, and I think you see why. The whole conflict between Hime and Iona was something very enjoyable. Both sides had some growth in their character. What Hime did was a mistake, and I can't fault her for that. She apologized and did the most selfless thing. She sacrificed her wish to make Iona's wish come true as a way of apologizing. It's obvious that she's been getting a lot of character development throughout this season, and I can't fault Iona for blaming Hime for opening Axia. Again, she had every right to, but at the same time she also acknowledged her own faults and apologized for not hearing Hime out. So I really think this little arc of theirs was a nice way for these two to grow, to become much better than they already are. We finally get some more plot in the story, specifically Blue's past with Mirage. I get that he fucked up, and I'm glad that he acknowledged his fucked up. But one, why ask a bunch of teenagers to fix the mess you caused? And two, why are they treating Blue like the victim? If anything, Mirage is the true victim of this whole situation. Had Blue actually handled the situation a bit better, she wouldn't be the bad girl of this show. And again, I understand why Blue made the rule of not falling in love. He doesn't want any sort of calamity to happen between them like we've seen in these episodes. Megami has been showing more growth in her character with how she's handling these situations. It seems like she's learning from most of her mistakes. I said most of them because, well, we'll get to that later. I do like how she acknowledged her insecurity despite having to fight her evil counterpart. Good lord. And I know some of the episodes with her in the spotlight of these 10 episodes are definitely going to be a key factor of what's going to happen in the 9 final episodes. So that's something to look forward to. The animation for these episodes are okay with the exception of a few stinkers. Though Aoyama's animation in the episodes 22 and 28 aren't that bad. Not the best, but still pretty good. And the fight scenes are awesome for the most part. I think the fight between the three of the Cures and the Orsky trio could have been better. Still, I look forward to what's in store for the next 10 episodes. But I should probably finish the Smile Pretty Cure Let's Play before continuing on with this review. And good God, this might be like my longest video to make, but I'm gonna try my best to push forward. And I apologize if what I said in this video angers you, but I had to get my 2 cents on all of it, and I hope you all understand. Anyway, that is gonna be it for this video. Stick around for part 4 of this review, but until then, this is the Starlight Let's Player signing out. As always, Goki Genyo, and have a star-tastic day, everyone.
I knew I would fulfill my dream, yeah. They knew I started from the bottom, now I made it, yeah. The possibilities are endless, yeah, I say, yeah. I got the roots and I got everything I need, yeah. And now I'm chilling with a pretty gentle lady, yeah. She got a kinda gentle personality, yeah. She got them curvy hips and a booty for booty.